The end of summer and the start of fall means harvest time on the homestead, but it also means it's time to start a little fall cleanup. And boy, does the property need it this year. The weeds are climbing high, so high, in fact, that the garden and the orchard are both suffering. So it's time to pull out the big guns and get that tractor into the field. And boy, how much better does that look? We've also struggled this year with garden pests. We changed out our watering method to a drip line, so most of our crops have been watered and done really well. However, the gophers dug a new path this year, and instead of hanging out in the garden, they now tunneled into the orchard. And sadly, they've gone right through our best growing apple tree. This Fuji apple tree is about 4 years old now. The gophers tunneled right under the roots and destroyed the majority of them. So in an effort to save this tree in our orchard, we're pulling it out today and moving it down to the other end of the orchard. Our hope is that since it's still alive, it will bounce back and we won't have to replace it, because fruiting trees are not cheap. Now that the apple tree is moved, it's time to focus on the rest of the orchard. We finally got some ripe peaches that are ready to harvest. Our peaches really didn't do very well this year. We had a late freeze this spring that killed off most of our peach blossoms, and most of the peaches locally suffered as well. But luckily, we've canned and freeze-dried a lot of our peaches from last year, and we don't need to completely rely on this year's crop. So that is a blessing. Today we are harvesting Cresthaven peaches. It's kind of a small crop, but it should be enough to can a few jars of peaches and maybe make a little bit of peach jam. To start, I sort through all of our peaches. I check for any kind of bugs, any discoloration or bruising, excessive amounts of it especially, or if they're pruning up and letting me know that they're a little bit too old of peaches. We will still use peaches that are bruised or have spots where the bugs have eaten them. We just go through and make sure to cut those pieces out and make sure that they're the best peaches that we have. If they're really bad, a lot of times we'll just put them in our fridge and eat them for later, or freeze dry them. I try and save the very, very best peaches for canning. But once that's done, I will blanch them in some water for 30 seconds to a minute, and then pull the skins off, and they're ready to slice and put on the freeze drying trays. Now this year, we also got several bags of apricots from some friends locally, and so we wanted to be able to freeze dry those kind of at the same time that we did our peaches. So it worked out really well. They came in around the same time, so we just washed all those apricots, sliced them, pulled out the pits, and then sliced them up and put them on the freeze drying trays just like we did our peaches. So it was a really nice timing that we had them both at the same time. And then once everything was sliced up and thin, we put it into the freeze dryer, and it took about 28 hours for all of the peaches and the apricots to be completely dry.
It's Peaches Day and we have all the things going on. We've got peaches in the freeze dryer going, we've got peaches on the stovetop to make jam, And we just put some peaches into quart jars just to can peaches. It is a lot of work and a long, long day, but in the end it'll be worth it. We'll have jam, peaches, and freeze-dried peaches for snacking for the next year.
If you have never canned peaches, I highly recommend that you add it to your Homestead canning list. Peaches are super simple to can. They're really delicious. Everyone in the family will love them. They make a great side dish for any meal, and they also just make a good meal in and of itself. We grew up having peaches and toast for dinner on Saturday nights, especially in the summer when a lot was happening and it was too hot to really heat up the kitchen. I won't go through an entire tutorial here on how to can peaches. I do have a link in the description with the video as well as to the recipe on our blog that you can download, but they are very simple. To start, I'm making a simple syrup that is a 1-to-2 ratio of sugar to water. So 1 cup of sugar to 2 cups of water. I boil that down until that syrup that sugar dissolves. Then I put that into hot jars with the peaches. I'll clean those rims, add lids and rings, and place them in my water bath canner for 25 minutes and allow those to cook in that hot heat to kill any bacteria that might be there. This is a simple process, and once those jars are done, I'll pull them out and put them on a towel on my countertop for about 24 hours. Next, I'm going to make some peach jam. This is super simple. I throw peaches into my food processor and I process them down so they are kind of in chunks. I'll add some sugar, some lemon juice, and those peaches to a pot so that they start to sugar up, and I'll put those on my stove top till they boil. Then I'm going to add some sugar gel. That's what's going to turn it into that nice jam. And I'm going to blend that sugar gel in really well and cook it down for another minute. And once it's nice and boiled and that sugar gel has had time to incorporate, I'm going to pull that off and put the jam in some jars. Now I use about 1/2 cup jars for jams and jellies because we put a lot of our jams and jellies into our farm stand. And so I like these smaller jars for that. Our 1/2 pint to pint jars of jams and jellies go on our shelf. So I clean them really well with some vinegar so that I get all the sticky off. And then I put on my lids and my rings, and I'm going to water bath can those for 10 minutes. And once that's done, they're going to go onto a towel as well so that they can cool off until they're ready to go on the shelves. The best part about homesteading is seeing all of your hard work finished for the day. The peaches are canned, the weeds have been mowed, and the orchard is looking great. Of course, when you homestead, the work is never done. Now we have this apple tree we have to plant. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.